I just wanted to let you know how my day went. Uh, this has been an interesting day. We just had 3 days where we had a boil water alert, and it just finished yesterday. And so I've been doing I've had difficulty doing the dishes, and I believe Angelina did that. And she's spinning right now. Zack Knight is using his perfect penis to shoot a semen laser at her, and it's causing her to spin. I'm not sure about this, but when I looked at my brand new vacuum cleaner, which I had to buy a brand new vacuum cleaner because my vacuum cleaner broke about a month ago, my brand new vacuum cleaner has damage on the cord already. I had to put tape on the cord. You can see it right over there. That's the vacuum cleaner. I had to put tape on the cord because you could see that there was wear. It looks like Angelina may have come in my apartment last night and that she and Jesus had a tussle. And Jesus left behind some evidence like some damage to my vacuum cleaner, and it looks like she went into the closet and tried to get my dildo. I'm not sure, but the table where I never use that dildo. It's the one that my men gave me in for a Christmas present in December 2011, a late Christmas present that I got around January 2nd, 2012. And I have that dildo in the closet, and I put aluminum foil over the head because that's what my men told me to do because they said Angelina really wants your dildo. I went and looked in my closet. It looks like the table where the dildo is sitting on got moved, shuffled around. So I'm not sure, but it looks like she may have come in my apartment and when I was sleeping last night, and it looks like Jesus and her may have had a tussle. Before, it used to be Zack Knight. I'm not sure. It's possible I might have damaged. I spent a lot of time with the vacuum cleaner yesterday because I cleaned. It's one of these bagless types, and I had to figure out how to clean it, and so I kind of took it apart and I had trouble putting it back together again. So maybe I did it. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure, and the table where the dildo was, I don't recall moving it that much. So maybe she was here, maybe she wasn't. I spoke with Zack Knight brain to brain. I said, she's spinning. How could she visit my apartment? And he seems to be telling me that for about 5 minutes she stopped spinning. And maybe Satan did something to allow her to get a break. And maybe in that 5 minutes she came in here and tried to do some things. I don't know. But it looks like Jesus protected me. I wasn't feeling seduced or anything like that. And she's got very powerful, very strong powers of seduction. Or maybe it was me. Maybe she used brain control on me and had me damage my own. I mean, because I was spending hours trying to figure out how to put my vacuum cleaner back together again. Um, so I love my little new vacuum cleaner. Since I've been using it, my allergies are doing much better. So even though I was aggravated that my old Eureka that I bought, I had a HEPA Eureka that I bought like in 1997, 99. And I had that up until this year. But since I have to vacuum every day to do the Gail commandments, it's putting a lot of wear and tear on the vacuum cleaner. So I bought like a $50 Bissell, and I'm using that now. But I tried to get one that had like a 2-year limited warranty, something that would last. I got a good deal at Walmart. I spent $50. I was aggravated that I had to get a vacuum cleaner, but I've got to do those Gail commandments. So now I hear on the news there's a Hurricane Matthew, named after Matthew McConaughey, that might be headed towards Florida, and it's like a Category 5. Angelina seems to have powers with the weather. She used a lightning strike to hit our water treatment facility, and that caused a drop in the water pressure, and that's why for 3 days we had a boil water alert in Melbourne. And even with this video, I've had to go in there and personally, if I put it on autofocus, it just goes in and out. She has all the Antichrist powers that Zack Knight used to have. Zack Knight I believe, is still a computer genius, but you got to remember, Satan invented electricity and computers, and now his Antichrist is Angelina. But if she did come in my apartment, I believe that that's a violation of the non-interference agreement between Jesus and Satan and his Antichrist, because Satan obviously went in there and helped her to get out of the spin. And so if she did come in here, it looks like Jesus intervened. And he had the right to do it because Satan violated his non-interference agreement. See, there's a kind of a complicated non-interference agreement between Jesus and Satan, and it started in February 2012 when Zack Knight was the Antichrist, and he broke into the brain-to-brain servers, and he made brain-to-brain love to me and made me pregnant telepathically, which he had the power to do as the Antichrist. But then Jesus aborted the babies and told me never to ever trust anything brain to brain that claims it's coming from Jesus, because Jesus says he never, ever will use computers or electricity because Satan invented those. He says, Gail, I will never talk to you brain to brain. And he said, I would never make love to you brain to brain. So the reason I'm making a video now is I just wanted to let you know that at my Patreon page, I am featuring my longer videos there, like 1 or 2 hour videos that have recordings, let's say, of like me and Zack Knight on Skype. Like when Zack Knight spoke to me from his semen bubble, I have an almost 2 hour recording. But I've started something else that I'm doing at my Patreon page. And that is if I spend a lot of time writing a news article or preparing transcripts, like 29 pages or something, then I'm featuring that also at my Patreon page, where only the patrons can go in and see it. For instance, I had somebody at my Twitter comment that they just couldn't believe that Jesus had no problems with Zack Knight and Rule 13, including animals, with their lovemaking. They just said, we just can't believe that Jesus said that. So I thought, what better thing could I do to show that Jesus is not a cock blocker than to include the transcript where Jesus actually said that to me. Now, I know that Angelina and her Jesuits will claim that this is not the real Jesus, but if he is a fake, and I know he's not, because he has said things that have been prophetic, everything future that this Jesus tells me about happens. Everything. And he's had some pretty detailed predictions. And so far, and also when he deals with me, I can tell that I'm dealing with somebody who can read my mind and who knows me in the very deepest inner core of me. In other words, when he's dealing with me, he knows me even better than I know myself. So and not only that, I consider myself a bit of a Bible scholar, because I have read the Bible from cover to cover hundreds of times. And whenever I hit him with any deep theological questions, he's never stumped. And he always comes back with a brilliant response. So I know I'm dealing with Jesus. But what I've done, I've had a lot of Skype conversations with Jesus. I don't hear his voice. Like I said, he's not going to get on a computer. But he does allow only Brent Spiner to transcribe for him. Sometimes he will give me a message through Judge Terrance Jenkins, but it's not an actual transcription. It'll be just like, tell Gail I don't want her to do this, or something to that effect. But when he does an actual transcription, word for word, he will only use Brent Spiner. And because these are the words of Jesus, what I've done when I publish a transcription of Jesus talking to me using Brent Spiner as his transcriptionist, I put Jesus's words in red, just like in a red letter Bible, because those are his words. And it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's Jesus talking, so it's divinely inspired. So if you want to, what I'm going to do is, right now I'm researching for my novel called The Antichrist in Rule 13, which is going to be a love story about Rule 13 and the Antichrist. And I'm going back, and I keep copies of all my email communications, all my Skype communications, and any communications that I have between me and my men, and between me and Jesus, or between me and anybody, even Satan. Though Satan usually doesn't talk to me, uh, unless he's doing it through the Antichrist. And Jesus doesn't talk to me brain to brain. The only time Jesus will talk to me using words and not just, I mean, he speaks to me like if I pray and I sense his spirit, like giving me peace about something, but he doesn't use literal words to my mind anymore, ever since Zack Knight impersonated him and tricked me, because that's too dangerous. So what he does, excuse me, what he does is he will speak to me through Brent Spiner or Terence Jenkins, one of those two usually. And when it's a word for word transcription, it's Brent Spiner. So what I've done is I decided I'm researching for my novel, reading back over all the copies that I've kept of all my correspondence with my men. The year 2013 is especially important for my book because that's when I had a lot of communications with Rule 13, when she was actually living at Church of Gail, and we had a peace treaty between Church of Gail and the Jesuit order when we banded together to fight the Gail android. And even though we defeated Gail on December, I think it was the 21st, December the 21st, 2012, the peace treaty was not dissolved until October 2013. And that whole time, Rule 13 was living on Church of Gail, and she opened up to me, and she actually let me go into the Jesuit portal a couple times. And I actually had I saw some communications between Zack Knight and Angelina Ballerina, and Rule 13, I didn't like Angelina at all. I said, that is a really bad woman. I got her number right away. I didn't like her because I felt like she was trying to undermine Rule 13. But anyways, I have a transcription between Brent Spiner and Jesus Christ. It's about 29 pages long in a PDF format at my Patreon page. And for $1 a month, you can have access to that, or I have about 5 or 6 longer videos, like of my trip out to Hollywood to be on a show. And you can go to my Patreon page and have access to this transcription where Jesus talks about Zack Knight and his feelings for Rule 13. This was part of my research for my book, and I've included, I decided to include this because a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about Jesus. They think he's a cock blocker. And this has actually been one of the tools that Satan has used to get a Jesuit following. He lies to his Jesuits and he tells them, you need to follow me because Jesus isn't there. He's especially ridiculous when it comes to sex. He has all these rules about sex. Like he thinks the only way you can have sex is the missionary position, and if you have it with animals or bukkake, or if you want to enjoy it with thrill seeking, or if you want to have homosexual sex or lesbian sex, he says, "Oh, Jesus is so prudish about that. You come on my side, and I'll give you a break." Basically, what I think is going on with Satan is he feels he has the right to rule the universe alongside God the Father and Jesus Christ. He doesn't feel he deserved to be kicked out just because he had a big ego and thought he knew better than God how to run the universe. And so that's his beef. And anybody who follows him and wants his assistance, he lies to them and says, I'll give you more liberty. I won't get on you about your sins like Jesus does. And basically, I have transcripts where Jesus talks about this, about Satan, about Rule 13, about Zack Knight, and how he really feels about sex and that he's not a cock blocker. And I even have the exact quote where he states he doesn't oppose Rule 13 and Zack Knight using a rhinoceros or a hippo with their lovemaking. So go check out my Patreon page. It's all there. For $1 a month, you can read it. Jesus' words are in red. And anytime I have a really interesting article, which I've worked really hard on, I'll put it at my Patreon page. And those who are my members can see it for $1 a month.